Hello friends, it's me, and today, let's rock! Literally, let's check out food theory. Rocks will be a new favorite fruit. What? From the food theorists, together, let's go!
Would you try this Chinese street food? The rocks are seasoned with chili, garlic, purple perilla, and rosemary. The dish is known as suodio,
说丢，说丢，
meaning suck and throw away. The dish
说丢，对。
goes for 16 yuan, $2.30.
So I guess you could say we've hit rock bottom? Ow! Oh, sorry. Okay, I admit I've got a problem with dad jokes. Stop throwing those things. That is perfectly good food you're wasting. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Food Theory.
Today, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. A recent viral trend coming out of China shows chefs and street vendors cooking up rocks. Yeah, apparently this is a tradition that dates back hundreds of years. Pebbles are collected, cleaned, and then cooked with herbs, spices, and vegetables. Obviously, or hopefully, you're not actually supposed to eat the rocks. You're just supposed to suck on them for the flavor and then throw them away. Then again, I'm not here to tell you what to do. If you do
说丢 literally means suck and throw away. 说丢 and 丢.
want to swallow them, well, that's your call. I mean, I've heard of kidney stones before, but this is getting ridiculous.
Hey guys, he's doing the bad dad jokes again.
Okay, I'll stop with the bad dad jokes. You guys are just stone cold. So what prompted the internet to start gnawing on gneiss? Well, stir-fried rocks, or more appropriately known as, suodio, that's too French, suodio, please have Google
说丢.
pronounce this one for me.
Suodio.
Yeah, there we go. Originated in the Chinese province of Hubei, a province
湖北.
often referred to as the land of fish and rice. So there's very little written record of this thing.
Oh, fun fact, 湖 means river or like canal or lake, something like that. 湖. And 北 means 东南西北, north, south, east, north. 湖北 means lake north, river north, canal north. You get the point, you know? Water north, yeah.
We know the dish was invented by boatmen who took little rocks off the bottom of rivers where they'd collected sediment and natural flavoring from the wildlife in the water. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about the natural flavors of whatever the heck was lying down at the bottom of the river. Over time, these river stones just naturally developed a fishy taste that was then enhanced when you fried the rocks at a high heat. Smother them all in sauce, garlic, ginger, veggies, and fats to absorb the rock's flavor. Then you suck on each one to get that aromatic seafoody taste. TikTok lately has been on fire about these things. And
also in the Western world, if I'm not wrong, they also use clams instead. And the thing about clams is that there's a soft part, so you can actually eat the, yeah.
for a number of reasons that you can probably guess. The first obvious one being that it's not every day that you see street vendors pancake flipping pebbles for the tourists. I've actually been to the street markets of Beijing and Shanghai, but this would seriously stand out among the crowd. Besides just being unusual though, the bigger question on people's minds with stir-fried rocks is why? Why is this
It's a snack. Like, it's something that's, you know, like appetizer, just... Yeah.
the trend at all? Is this real? Are people being serious about this? And if so, could this food trend actually have itself any sort of staying power? Well, the answer to all these questions is a resounding yes. And not only could stir-fried rocks be around for a long time, you might just be looking at the next high-end, exquisite food craze that's about to sweep the globe. Yeah, sweep the globe sounds like it's a bold claim from some guy on the internet and some rocks frying in a pan. I get that. You might even be
It's an irony because the name of this dish is literally called 说丢, which means you suck and you throw away. You throw away. Luxury? How?
saying, Pat, that's impossible. Do you even know where this dish comes from? And yeah, I do. What a great segue to give you a little bit more exposition. As you might
Oh, I know. It comes from a riverbed. Get it? Riverbed.
imagine, stir-fried rocks not really at the top of everyone's menu. Unsurprisingly, they were originally only consumed by fishermen in the Hubei region when there was literally no other food options available, which makes a lot of sense. You only start eating rocks as your absolute last resort. This also happened in a pre-industrialized era, and when motorboats eventually came to Hubei, it quickly reduced the chances of boatmen being stranded without supplies, at which point the dish just largely faded to obscurity. As far as the modern revival of stir-fried rocks goes, reactions to this thing online have been varied. From all the lulls about getting your rocks off,
This is ridiculous.
No thanks. I don't know.
But this is not a food.
to people having strong reactions to TikTokers exploiting this dish for clout, since it was actually a dark part of China's history with famines. Now, I'm not here to theorize about the dish from any kind of local perspective. We're just here to talk about what makes it
Mappa makes a very good point. There is a dark history with famine about this dish.
Unique and what makes it the latest in a long line of popular food trends. You see, it turns out that this dish could be an incredibly interesting food to watch over time now that it's re-entered public awareness, specifically because of its history as a famine food. Yeah, that is a real food category. It includes dishes that have originated in countries all across the globe in moments of extreme hunger or food shortage. And while it sounds weird, hang with me, because these are some of the most ingenious, creative foods on the face of the earth. They also happen to be some of the most expensive. Just to be clear here,
So case in point, this food back in the days when there's no longer anything to eat, like nothing to eat, and you have to feed your family, you have to be creative about it.
I don't mean survival foods like the cans of creamed corn stored down in your mom's garage, or those 200 gallons of potable water that your Uncle Steve keeps in his nuclear bunker. These are foods that people have made or foraged for when they've been stuck for long periods of time in really inhospitable places all across the world. The thing about these foods is that weirdly, many of them won't sound like famine foods when I start listing them off. A lot of them will seem just like regular food that you've seen on menus pretty frequently across the US. For instance, you can probably guess that Irish people had to forage to stay alive during the Irish potato famine in the 1800s. But you might be surprised by one of the major famine foods that they discovered through this process: seaweed. Nowadays, you'd never bat an eye at seeing seaweed show up at a high-end menu or a sushi bar in the US, but at the beginning of the 1800s, Europeans had no context that this could be used as food. Another example.
And case in point, the seaweed that we're eating right now is have been a lot of preparation done to it. Whereas if you are new to it, if you are pioneering eating seaweed, you don't know what you don't know.
During the last humanitarian crisis in Cambodia, Cambodians ate scorpions. No context that this could be used as food. Another example, during the last humanitarian crisis in Cambodia, Cambodians ate scorpions and tarantulas to survive because they sometimes had nothing else to eat. But you've
Famine, unfortunately, famine.
probably heard of those before. In fact, you might have seen scorpions and tarantulas for years on travel shows like Bizarre Foods with Andrew Zimmern, since they're now considered a delicacy in all of Southeast Asia and are widely available at the local street markets, the same type of street markets where we see stir-fried rocks. Think the US is exempt from all this? Think again. The indigenous Algonquins from the region that's now the US Northeast were known for eating pine tree bark in the winter when they ran out of food. Nowadays, restaurants in that region offer spruce tips in their expensive dishes. Spoiler alert, it's weird, it's very floral, it's not great, but hey, it's there, it still lives on, and it's expensive. And you'd probably think nothing of seeing cactus fries or mushroom burgers on a menu in the US, but cactus and mushroom, again, were originally consumed only as a desperate last resort and weren't originally considered to be food. And this, friends, is just the tip of the iceberg. Nowadays, a massive number of expensive food was all once food for the poorest members of society. Lobster, once considered to be the cockroach of the sea, these things now go for hundreds of dollars around the world.
Oh, I remember correctly, lobster is prisoner's food, if I'm not wrong.
Literally the snot rocks of the ocean, now perched on top of golden seafood platters and showered with money. So what the heck is happening here? How did these foods go from, well, I'll eat them because I have literally nothing else to eat, to a national treasure that costs hundreds of dollars? Well, there are a few schools of thought for this, and let me be clear, this isn't some sort of new revelation. Economists and food scientists alike have studied this phenomenon for decades. They have a few theories, food theories of their own,
Food theory.
on why the shift happened. The first is a nutritional cause. Sometimes desperate measures get people to put things in their mouths that they wouldn't normally, and in the process they accidentally discover something that's really good for you. Way to go, humanity! Look at us, blind squirrels just accidentally finding a bunch of nuts. So, while you and my 5-year-old might not believe that mushrooms should be food, the fact is they're high in vitamin D and the B vitamins, and that might be hard to get from other sources depending on where you live. Same goes with things like cactus, which is full of fiber and vitamin C, insects, which are full of protein, seaweed, which is easy to get, cheap, and a solid source of antioxidants. But there's another big factor at play here. The other phenomenon that's elevating all these famine foods appears to be something that's been roughly termed the cost of authenticity. In recent decades, food has gotten much faster. It's gotten much more convenient. It's also gotten a whole lot more blurry when it comes to what's considered authentic. Since the rise of fast food and a whole lot of who asked for this fusion dishes, it's felt harder and harder to get real food from the real places that they originate. In a lot of areas of the world where famine foods came came from, the dishes were invented because people had barely anything to eat, but they did have another resource available to them: time. They had enough time to forage. They had the time to hunt for that one obscure thing in their environment that they could eat. They had the time that was necessary to get every last molecule of nutrition out of that ingredient. A great example of this is bouillabaisse from France, which started as a poverty broth made from fish scraps. Fishermen would literally take the fish scraps and guts that were left over at the end of the day and make it into a soup by boiling it for just a heck of a long time to get the most flavor and nutrition out of it. Today, bouillabaisse has evolved into a major delicacy. It can run you $75 at a real authentic French restaurant. The reason is because while now we have more money to spend on food and more ability to obtain food, we don't have the time to spend cooking dishes like this for ourselves. The only way to get a real bouillabaisse is to cook it for hours and hours. But in today's modern global society, we are time poor. So instead of being food poor, we're now entering a type of poverty where we're too busy to make the food that's considered real and authentic. Other familiar examples for you might be Vietnamese pho, another dish that can take over 10 hours to make, zuppa de pêche from Italy, paella in Spain, ramen broth in Japan, and even bread made from scratch, which we all found out the hard way back in 2020. Any of you still making bread at home now that it's post-pandemic? Almost no one is, because now that we can leave the house, we're too time poor to prioritize doing that sort of stuff for ourselves. But
No, not necessarily. Making bread is a fun way to teach children's, to teach nephews, nieces, sons, daughters, children's, as a whole.
I hear you saying, Matt Pat, you dummy, stir-fried rocks can't become a delicacy. First of all, they're not good for you. They are rocks, so that doesn't meet criteria 1 of our list here. We didn't find something that was miraculously nutritious for us. We just made rocks taste like food before we spit them out again. And yeah, that is true. I hear you on that. So what about criteria 2 and the time cost? Well, it might be true that gathering rocks from a riverbed is a time-intensive process. Stir-fried rocks, probably not one of those dishes that requires you to slave over a broth all day. Just pop in the old rocks into the fryer and add a bunch of seasoning. So stir-fried rocks cannot be one of those foods that catches on because it doesn't fit either of those 2 criteria, right? Wrong. What if I told you that stir-fried rocks can go global even though they're not good for you or time-intensive? And what if I told you that this isn't the first time that we've seen it happen? Let me introduce you to a little Italian dish called pasta ai sassi, a famine dish from the southwest coast of Italy. The name pasta ai sassi means pasta with sea stones, and if you think they're talking about real stones, well yeah, you'd be right. In times of fish shortages, or when rough sea conditions in the Mediterranean made it impossible to leave the shore, locals would add rocks from the sea to their pans alongside other ingredients and oil to seep all the flavor out of the rocks so you got the semblance of seafood flavor. Over in Italy, they chose to remove the rocks before serving, so they really missed the quality rock sucking that could have been done there. Oh man, that's one of those quotes that's gonna live on and haunt me. Rock sucking. Great choice there, Matt. Anyway, just like the
Not bad. Rock sucking sounds.
stir-fried rocks, the Italian version of the dish also faded from memory once motorized travel became a thing. And much like our Chinese counterpart, it didn't stay away forever. It made a comeback and is now served in the region again, but with one small substitution. The recipe still calls for rocks, except now those rocks are actually mollusks, like clams and mussels. With this one evolution from hard thing in my pasta to other hard thing in my pasta, the dish manages to get the same sea flavor. Even as someone who likes shellfish, it's pretty easy to agree that clams and mussels, they're just little mouthfuls of seawater anyway, so the dish becomes more edible while retaining the original spirit. And just like most seafood dishes, it's gonna cost you a pretty penny, a far cry from the famine food that it began as. And this is where I think stir-fried rocks are destined to find their legacy. Clearly the dish is onto something because people are literally willing to lick rocks and then spit them out just to have a taste of the seasoning and the flavor around it. It seems reasonable then that the local recipe would eventually evolve to include something else in the local cuisine that provides a similar flavor profile and maintains the integrity and meaning of the food, but doesn't involve people actually sifting through mountains of river rocks anymore. Only time will tell, but don't be surprised if in a few years, stir-fried rocks lands on a menu near you and it costs way more than all of us can afford.
Matt makes a very good point. Only time will tell. Don't be surprised when it actually happens a few decades later, a few centuries later. It's time will tell.
But hey, when it feels like all you can do is cook up a bunch of rocks, and not the good kind, that's when today's sponsor, HelloFresh, comes in to save the day. No longer do you have to worry about running out of supplies and being forced to cook with whatever rocks happen to be lying around the kitchen. No sir, friends. With HelloFresh, all the freshest ingredients are delivered straight to your door. In fact, with HelloFresh, you have 40 weekly recipes to choose from. All you gotta do is pick your favorite, set a date, and skip some stones while they deliver everything you need right to your front door. All the ingredients ingredients are pre-portioned, so all the guesswork is taken out and all you gotta do is follow the instructions for a quick and easy homemade meal. Plus, with everything being so easy with step-by-step instructions, it's a great way to cook with the family without the kitchen spiraling into complete chaos. I'll be on chopping duty, Steph will handle the pans. It gives us some much needed time to catch up. No need for delivery, no need to scour the riverbeds for suitable pebbles to stir fry. So if you wanna
And make sure that something very good is bonding, family bonding. You know, husbands, wife, child, family bonding, very important.
stress less about your cooking mess, go to HelloFresh.com and use the code 50foodtheory at checkout. That'll get you 50% off plus free shipping. Seriously, 50% off and free shipping. It is as easy as that. Once again, that is HelloFresh.com with the code 50foodtheory. Thank you again to HelloFresh for being our sponsor in today's episode, and as always, remember, it's all just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit.
Thank you so much, my pets. And the final point is, it makes the food feels better because you contributed. You help produce these dishes. Maybe the kid can set the utensils, the plates, you get the point, right? Okay, can carry the bowl from here to the table. You get the point. It helps that there's family bonding and it's nice. Well, thank you so much for watching this live stream. Sorry, this reaction video. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Thank you so much. Subscribe.